Most South African entrepreneurs will never receive funding, and that's okay. People like to think entrepreneurship looks like Shark Tank, looks like Silicon Valley. Lots of investors everywhere. Build it, and they will come. They say that's not the African reality. It's not the South African reality. The South African reality looks a lot more like you making something that is profitable first within its unit economics. And then, if ever you do decide to make funding, it being able to survive and grow on its own without the funding will give you a lot more um, power when you get into those rooms and you're able to speak from a position of authority to those people versus saving a surviving business with outside funding puts you in a disadvantaged position regardless of whether your product is good or not, your service is good or not. And so the promise is we're going to talk about how to build anyway, how to grow without investors, and why learning to survive first is actually an advantage. So, part one, a lot of businesses start with sales, skills, service, reinvestment. No investment capital, and that's absolutely normal. That's absolutely normal. That's how a business ought to be started, and you are kind of forced by the market conditions to start in that way in an African context, in a South African context. You're forced by the market because there is no venture capital out there realistically to be able to cover all of us, to be able to fund your idea specifically. And so, are you going to sit there and wait for someone to come save you? Are you going to sit there and hope? Are you going to sit there with a business plan and a dream and continue, pushing your 9 to 5, doing this and that when you know that you were called for something different? Or are you going to go out there and do something about it? Sales, skills, service, reinvestment. So I'll touch on it, and I'll give a couple examples. Imagine you're doing a lawn care business, and right, you think, oh, Sage, but a lawn care business is a terrible example because you'd need to invest in order to get the equipment to cut the lawn, right? Okay. Uh, what if you walked out there and you door knocked per door? Say, hey, hi, how are you? Hit the bell, whatever. Get people out there. You say, hey, within the next, um, X amount of time, I'm going to be starting a lawn care business. If you front pay, let's say 500 rands for the first 6 months, you actually get a discount on the last 2 months for free, and we're going to come cut your lawn twice a week, every week for that 500 rands. Like I'm literally that's off the top of my head. An example of something you could do. And then what do? You go around house by house by house by house by house. Eventually, what you're going to find is that you've collected enough money to buy one machine, buy a really old one, buy like, or you get someone who already has one, owns a lawn care business, to sell you one of his older ones. You fix it up, or you buy it, you go get it fixed. And you start turning profits. You start turning over, and now you've started the thing. Now you figure out, okay, how am I going to approach the next neighborhood a little bit better, slightly adjust to the fact that I have some equipment now, this, that, the third. Next thing you know, you're actually operating something at a larger scale than you otherwise would have. And from day one, you didn't have to invest capital. It's tiny methods like this, man. That things like doing pre-sales, things like making sure that you're able to structure your offers in a way where the person buying from you feels stupid saying no. They feel the tension and the urgency. And then there are many ways to structure offers. That's not the scope of this video, but the scope of this video is there are ways to fund businesses through the business themselves. You crowd fund, you fund through the customers who want your service, paying for the service before it comes to be. And that does two fantastic things. Number one, you get money in your pocket in the business before you even start doing anything. And number two, you get proof that the marketplace even wants your thing. So if you don't build the wrong thing, because that's the danger of build it and they will come. You can build it and no one comes because you don't want what you have to sell. So I feel that it's very important to lead with sales, lead with the skill, lead with the service, and you reinvest aggressively and continuously, depending on how much you want to grow, how much you want to spend on lifestyle at your level. You know, you could sacrifice for a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you can get to the next level. And then you decide there, okay, how much am I going to reinvest into the business? How much am I going to spend on lifestyle? And if you're more like long term thinking, if you have like a bigger vision, then you'll find yourself living, operating very, very lean, which is the bootstrapping way. You find yourself operating very, very lean, and that allows the business to be very, very profitable. You can reinvest. Next thing you have two machines, you have four machines, you have a bakkie. You're driving around in the bakkie. In any case, it's very, very normal and very possible. And the African reality is access to funding is limited, it's concentrated, and it's difficult, especially for young founders, black founders, early stage businesses. And so waiting for funding can kill momentum. That last line is very, very important, which is waiting for funding can kill momentum, because in the time that you have now spent waiting for the funding, the number one, you have lost momentum within the marketplace itself. The gap that you saw in the market could have closed. By the time you get the funding and you start the thing, there's a version of you that started anyway that would have been much further. There's a version where you get the funding, you start the thing, and as you are on the way to developing this thing, now that you finally have the money, the market gap closes. The market gap is filled by a competitor that just went after it anyway. And even in your building, you're building the thing wrong. It's leaking money. Why? Because you don't know where the holes are, because you didn't build it from scratch to be profitable from first sale. Um, Very, very important base concepts. And I feel the primary difference between um, an MBA, a bachelor's, a stringing all the way up, is within those they teach very high level strategic organization thinking, strategizing, planning. You learn how to plan. Planning is fantastic when the organization's at a certain stage. In fact, it's very necessary and can trump the day-to-day thinker. But what it fundamentally misses is how to execute. And a part of what this is, a part of what many teachers and lessons that you can get, on this internet landscape with this artificial intelligence, with all these things that exist in the world right now, what you can get is executional knowledge, procedural knowledge of how do I go from now, I'm hungry now, I have a skill now, how do I sell that, how do I make money now, which is what business essentially is and that's what you find as a business student. After you finish your qualification, you graduate, you're right back in the hamster wheel looking at life thinking, I still don't know what to do. I know what to do when I already have the business, but how do I start a business? And this is the thing that we're touching on now, which is very, very important. And I found this going around. So I'm CEO founder, Legacy Africa, and we've been blessed, honored, and privileged to have been in certain rooms with people that are operating today, currently. I have conversations with business owners every day. I help business owners uh, deconstrain their businesses. They go through their bottlenecks, build teams and systems around them, and really fundamentally go from solopreneurship to controlling systems, working in the business to working on the business, right? And so this is literally the problem that I shift and I deal with every single day, is people not understanding the unit economics of their business, people not understanding how to get to the next stage, how to do the next step. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that. I'm sure there are issues in my own business that I'm still yet to run into, and I solve problems within my own business every single day. But the most important thing that I wanted to touch on is that the knowledge that you get from being on the ground facing the problems, it's invaluable, and it can inform the way that you operate when you are at a higher level, because you understand your business from the core unit economics to how what is the ROI on this project, like how much money is gonna be paid back to us, how quickly on this particular project. You know, you talk about your payback periods, you talk about your, you know, and it makes you more enticing when you go to an investor saying, hey, listen, here's what we can do. You can give me 100,000 and you can get 300,000 by the end of the year. You can say stuff like that when you know your unit economics versus the typical commoditized service that's just trying to raise funds for this thing that's a shrinking ship, whatever. Listen, you give me 100,000, you maybe might get it back in the next 3 to 5. Like what kind of offer is that, even from an investor perspective? Why? Because you don't understand offers to begin with, because you never had to cultivate an enticing offer in order to take over the market to begin with, or to create a market, to address a market that you see that there's a gap in. So I feel that it's very, very important to be able to go from the seed to the root to the tree to the fruit. I feel that everything that you need to know is on that journey. And so part three is, if you can generate cash flow, if you can sell, if you can survive, and you can reinvest, then nothing will stop you. Like, the business can breathe on its own, and there's nothing more powerful than owning a income generating asset, because then you have the freedom to look at other opportunities in your life. You look at other things that you could possibly do. You look at things that you can invest in. You look at, you get the money to do literally anything and everything that you would want to do. You know, how do I take this thing to the next level? Okay, let me pay off this, let me pay off that, let me do this, let me do that. Why? Because you have this thing and it generates active income. You know, especially in this world where we're very, very caught up on the passive income and, you know, chilling, sitting back, and money just coming in. I think we should make active income sexy again. We should make active income something that's very desirable again. Like, hey, let me go out there, maybe own the vehicle that's generating the money. Maybe that's the only difference or shift. I think, especially from a business ownership perspective, which is, I would assume someone who's clicking onto this video would be interested in that. From a business ownership perspective, active income is very important. Before you want to chillax and be outside of your business, it's very important to make sure that it's functioning correctly, and it is a business and not just a glorified job that you control for yourself, that you've created for yourself. Golden handcuffs, as they call them. And so this is actually powerful, because when you bootstrap, you learn efficiency, you learn sales, you learn resourcefulness, and you build real business muscles. Because ultimately, when you know what it takes for the business to function, for the business to stand on its own 2 feet and start walking and eventually run, those are the real superpowers of a business. Those are the real things that you can actually leverage against. Those are the real things that you can raise against. Those are the real things that get you market position. Those are the real things that get you profit at the end of the day. If we talk about efficiency, if you know what it takes for the business to run, then you're not going to waste money on things that you don't really need. You'll know what you need and don't need, because you've been at the very bottom of this thing and you know the details. You know, sales is very, very important, because then you can't no one can sell your thing better than you. No one can create a better sales script for your thing more than you, because you created it for a purpose, because you saw a problem, you're addressing that problem. No one can articulate the problem that you're here to solve, and no one can articulate the way that you're here to solve it better than you. And so the number one person who's qualified to generate a sales script for your organization is you. And so you should be there on the ground in the trenches, figuring out scripting, beating up the script, testing the script, failing the script. And until you get to a point where you can actually just follow the script word for word and close the sale, you're not done with that process yet. So, sales, you like to know that and understand very intimately what it takes to convert a customer from, or convert a lead from someone who's interested to someone who is actually paying you for your service or business. Can really shift everything for you. And you learn resourcefulness. And I think the resourcefulness is a very, very important one, because I believe what separates us is not that uh, we have a lot of resources. We don't, but is that we are resourceful. We figure things out. We make things work. We know how to make 1 rand stretch. We know how to make 100 rand stretch. That this 100 rand could either be uh, 5 pias. You need to be 5 pia back in the day. I don't know how much pia costs these days. But anyway, it can either be 5 pias, or it can be mm, 4 Uber trips back and forth. It can be one taxi there, one taxi back. That's 4 tag at their back, 8 tag at their back ish overdraft. What I'm trying to say is, like 100 rand can mean a lot of things to a lot of different situations. And you learn how to make that 100 rand work as best it possibly can within the context of your business. You learn to prioritize those types of things. Okay, what is actually the most important thing? Okay, which of these activities can I actually put this money towards that is going to generate more income, so that we can go again? You know what I'm saying? So we can. The point of the game is to stay in it, my friends. The point of the game is to stay in it. And that's what you learn when you bootstrap is, okay, the point of the game is to stay in it. So briefly, I'll actually touch on my story, just to finish up. Story of Legacy Africa. Those of you who've heard it, don't roll your eyes just yet. I'll try and touch on it in a way where everyone leaves here with something. Which I did touch on briefly, what we do now, where we're at now. That's not where we started for certain. Um, it's been about 9 months now. This is the ninth month of Legacy. And yeah, it started off as a seed, man. Started off as a seed, just a seed of thought. And I was like, no, what? We actually, I know what it is that I'm trying to do on an African context, like on a scale context. I know this is the most entrepreneurial generation in the world, and like of all time. This generation of Africans is like, we're literally the youngest generation that's coming up. Like literally in this generation, we are the youngest. You know what I'm trying to say? Like a lot of the people that are coming into working age are African, like across the continent. There is within this generation. So there's the next generation, which is like my little brother, the man there. There's the man above me who are slowly aging out or getting into the seniority. Most of our people within the next, let's say, 5, 10 years, are coming into the strides of their seasons, of their working seasons, all at the same time, right? And the most entrepreneurial in the sense that Africa is a very it's a troubled nation. And I tweeted not too long ago that something to the effect of, the disruptions in our market are not a barrier, but are not a barrier to the market. They are the market itself. They create the market. Um, in any case, so I saw that, and I wanted to make something that I could wear while I was doing this, instead of perpetuating Nike and Adidas and whatever, Gucci, Louis, whatever the case. I was like, hey, what's something that we can be proud of? You know what I'm saying? That isn't necessarily just my name or my whatever, but someone else who didn't even know who I was could see that and think, Legacy Africa. I think that's something I can rock with. So it started off as that. Eventually, made some mock-ups, using the different AI generators, not very good ones. It was just a ChatGPT 2D image, in which I tested on different pages and did this and that, and asked people, yo, like this one, that one, this one, that one, this one, that one, this or that, this or that, this or that, this or that. Did that over a couple of weeks. Eventually got some feedback, and I decided, okay, this is the look that I wanted. This is what I want. This looks clean. It looks nice. It looks like people want it as well. Eventually started doing pre-sales. Doing pre-sales, I literally, if I didn't hit you up, dog, and offer you a Legacy Africa tee, it's because I didn't have your number, and I couldn't find you on Facebook or Instagram. I literally hit up hundreds of people, um, because it was a very niche market. They were 1,000 rand each, and that's not small change. But yeah, eventually hit the pre-sales. hit the orders, and got myself five Legacy Africa tees, including the one that I'm wearing today. There's only five of these that are ever going to be made. There were only five made. They're all sold now. And then this one obviously I use for content creation. Sometimes I go to meetings in it. Whatever the case, this is like my piece of brand merchandise. Um, so yeah, that's the story of that. Zero capital put in, boom, 5K in merch, and we kept pushing from there. Went to pitching competitions. The great thing about the pitching competitions is that it is there that I actually punched up the concept, and we really talked about like what I was addressing, how I was addressing it, and I was challenged a lot. I was challenged very, very brutally and violently by my mentor at the time, and she brought the absolute best out of me, and she definitely played a huge hand in the way that we approach things today, you know, and the pragmatism in the way that we approach things today. I'm very, very thankful for that journey, for that experience. Went to a second pitching competition earlier this year. We started partnering up with Office Cube so that I no longer had to purchase from a supplier. I became in the same position as my previous supplier was. Um, yeah, all these opportunities came from execution, man. I went door knocking to different institutions. Now I'm partnered up with one of these institutions, and doing really, really cool things. And the result of that, or that is all the result of execution and not waiting and asking for permission. Not just sending emails, but actually going out there, making it real, making it physical. Just I know that you're heavier on people. You are heavier on their conscience. You know when you're there in person and you're relentless and don't give up and you keep knocking, you keep texting, you keep doing whatever, eventually the doors will open. And that's what they did. And they may not open it when you want them to, but they will open eventually, especially if you do not give up. And when you feel like giving up, know you're close. And sometimes the one thing you wanted to happen is the best thing that never happened, because it gets you to where you ought to be. um, all this all this, my friends, I'm now in a position where I do have paying clients. Like I said, I have this massive partnership where I have a lot of talent. I have talent pipeline on the way. Not even on the way. Like we're doing it now. I'm onboarding, project managers. I'm onboarding technicians, software developers, um, all that good stuff. And none of that happens if I'm sitting waiting idly by for funding on some idea, which I didn't end up going after that initial idea anyway. You shift, you pivot according to the market conditions, and you lean towards what your skill is and what the market tends to say that it's wanting, etc. All these things come from you actually going from planning to action, you leaving that soft, cozy, whatever situation you may be in, um, going out there and feeling some pain, feel some rejection, go put your idea in the forge. Have people say no. Listen to why they say no. Question the idea. Don't question the vision. You need to be very stubborn on the vision, but flexible on the details. I feel that's very, very important. Um, but yeah, I mean, long story short, I'm doing it right now, and it pains me sometimes to see some fantastic people and ideas. And in closing, a friend of mine said not too long ago that the pain, the gift and the curse that I live with myself is I see the vision in other people's dreams. Like sometimes I see their vision more vividly than they do. Sometimes they don't see who or what they could be, and I see that in them, and that's the burden I carry. Um, which is it's fantastic when I do get to work with these entrepreneurs and actually make the things come to fruition. It's a burden whenever the things just don't happen, or I can see that this person just doesn't have it in them to make this thing happen. They can't outlast their old self long enough to get to who they ought to be. That part's painful, but ultimately, no one's coming to save your business. And so build something sustainable, efficient, real. Um, Start where you are. And in a world full of people who make excuses and say why they can't, use what you have and build anyway. Thanks for watching. I've been Sage, Entrepreneurs, Legacy Africa. Link is in the description box down below. Not for teas. I don't. I'm out of the apparel game. I swear. There's a free tool that's down there for entrepreneurs to be able to tap in, share their stuff, meet other entrepreneurs on there, all free. And then yeah, you can be in contact with me on all the different Legacy Africa socials, or I'm Sage Oye on everything. Thank you for watching. I've been Sage, standing on business. Signing out.